Welcome to the third series of this video, and in this video we are going to actually animate all this stuff and also create a basic version of the game that is scoring and also detecting the collision and all sort of stuff. So let's start. So firstly we have to actually refactor our code so that it would be more manageable. So let's just move it down and create a stateless widget of, let's just name it game board, and we want this game board should have these two custom paints only, and if we move it down you will have it here. Now what we also want is to have all the properties which are here, which are important actually. Like if we want like a start, let's name it loop start angle, and also make the type to be double, and another one will be a double of loop end angle, or just make it loop length, because that's what the end angle actually decides. And another one would be the ball angle, that is what we want, right? And also what we want is the width of the path, let's name it the path width. Now what we want is to create a constructor for this. Let's do that, and let's just pass all the values here. Like the stroke will be the path width, and what we want for our radius should be the path width dash 2, because the circle will have a diameter which will be equals to the path width, that is this length, this thickness of this loop segment. Now for the angle we want the loop length here, and for the start angle we will name it loop start angle, and for the color I guess it is good. And for the angle of the ball we will pass ball angle here, and also we want a widget here that is the child of the whole custom paint. So we can generate the constructor again, and we'll have the child, and what we can do is pass it to the bottommost constructor of the custom paint. Now that's what we want. Now since this child can be nullable, we can just make it optional. Now for this board we can just move it above here and pass all the properties. Like for the ball angle we can just say it is at 60. For the loop length we can just say it is 270, not 270 but I guess 60 would be good. And for the loop start angle I guess 40. We are just filling it random values currently, so it does not matter, but let's make it 20. Let's just add a comma here so that it can get formatted correctly, and make it cons so that we can get rid of that switchy brackets. Actually we can get back here. Okay, if you see that, you will see the curve is correct. It is working as we expected, and the game board is all we needed for these things to work. Now for the ball angle, if we move it, it is working. Great. Now what we have to do is to change this value every frame. So if this value changes every frame, we can get our balls to be revolving around the circumference, actually on the circumference of the bigger circle or the loop actually. So for that, let's just make a stateful widget below, and let's just name it game manager, for example. Now if we name it game manager, we can just move it from here and paste it here, and we are good to go. And let's just move it down to this one. Now if I say that, it is this. Now what we have to do is to create a stateful widget instead of this stateless, because we want to use animation controller for that. So we will get an a single ticker provider state mixin, to get the ticker for our widget. And here we will define some of the properties, like we want to store the score of the game. Let's just make it score. And for another one is what will be the ball angle. So just make it ball angle here. And all the properties that we want to animate, like loop length, and another one is loop start angle, because on every collision, if a user scores, we want to change the position of the loop segment. So let's just make it loop angle, and path width will not change because we don't want to animate the path. Now for this one, what we can do is to initialize every variable here, like it should be initialized as 0, ball angle should be 0, loop start angle will be 0. So everything should be 0. That's it. What we want to do is to just make everything should be static at or start at 0. So basically it will be a ball here. That's it. Now if we pass the ball angle here, and if we pass the loop length here and loop start angle here and remove this const, you will see the ball will be here and the loop's length is just 0 because the loop start angle is 0 and also the length is 0. Now for the animation, what we want is to define an animation controller first of all, and name it controller. And another one is the animation for smoothing the animation. Now we will see how we are going to use it. Now we will just use the init state to initialize all these values. We will raise controller and we will save animation controller in it. And for the vsync, we will provide this. We are able to provide this here because we have added a mixin from the single ticker provider state mixin. For the duration, we can pass any duration. It does not matter since we are going to run the animation infinitely. Use animation, and for the seconds, let's just give it 1. And for the animation here, let's just give it a curved animation and name it controller and give it a curves.e. That's it. What we want to do, and add a list. Now this listener will be continuously firing for every frame. Now that's what we want, because for every frame we want to calculate some of the things, like if the ball is colliding or not, or we want to change the position of the ball, and if the user hit during the collision of the ball with the segment, we want to change the position of the segment. So all this will be done in every frame. So we have to check these conditions on every frame. So what we can do is to move this, replace this method with a game loop. Let's just the function as game loop, and we will move the game loop here. Let's just move it here. And what this game loop will do is just call set state. That's it. That's what it is going to do. Now we want to change the position of the ball. So what we can do is create a method like drive ball. Now this drive ball, it will just gonna change the ball angle, like it will be a ball angle plus I guess we also need something called speed, because we want to change the speed of the ball revolving over time. So just name it speed and initialize it at 1.5 for example. Now since we want to drive this ball, this is what we do. This is the changed position per frame. Now we want to add it, and the basic thing is we don't want to exceed the angle of 360 here. So to not exceed the angle of 360, we can just get the reminder by 360 or the modulo with 360. Thus it will be in the range of 0 to 360 maximum. Let's just do that here, enter this. Okay, now what we want to do is call this drive ball inside the game loop. That's all what we want to do. Now once I save this, you will see nothing is happening. Why? Because our animation is not running. What we want in the after the initialization of controller and smoothing of the curve, we want to drive our animation. So what we will call is repeat, so that the animation will repeat itself continuously. Once we are done with it, you will see that the ball is start rotating or revolve or moving along the circumference of the outer circle. Now we are done with it. Now what we want is to also check whether the ball is colliding with the segment or not, but for that we want the segment to be changeable. Now what we can do is to generate a segment, like randomly generating the starting angle and the length of the segment. That's what we can do. So what we can do is like randomize segment position, and what it will do, it will calculate the starter angle. But we can just say that loop start angle will be random, and we have to import random from the math library, and we want the next integer. Actually it should not, what we want is for the loop, if you think about it, like we don't want to cross the loop's length to more than 360 degree, but we want it to be variating. So what we can do is to generate a random integer between the range of 0 to 270, so that it will have a starting from here. Like if I see in the photo here, this one, but this one, if our segments start from here and we give it a length of 60, it will be here. Now from 270, what I mean is if it has a maximum value, that is for some reason it has a 270 value and the loop length is 60, it won't cross the 360 mark. So it will be always under the circumference of the outer circle. That's what we want. So what we can do is to get the 270 up to 270, that is 0 to 270 degree for the starter angle, and to give it a double name. And for the loop length, what we can do is again randomize it, but between the range of 60 degree. Like we don't want our loop should be greater than the 60 degree. That is, we want it to be lower, but how much lower? Like we don't want the loop should be like zero length, because if it is zero, then like you can see that currently it is not visible. So what we can do is to clamp the value between two values. So we want our minimum should be 20 and the maximum can be 60, and after that we will just use the double. Once we are done with it, we can start now. Now if I call it just after the repeat here, you will see that loop will be visible. But if I save it again, for every time the loop has a different position. That's what we want, right? So let's move down to actually deciding whether the ball is colliding or not. Now to check whether the ball is colliding, we will define another variable like is under collision, and initially it will be false because ball is not colliding initially. That's what we are saying. Now to see whether ball is colliding, we can define another method like check if ball is colliding. And for this method, what we can do is just to check whether the ball is within this range, like starting angle and end angle. If it is between this starting angle and the end angle, that means the ball is colliding, right? Because if ball is here or here and it is between these between this segment angle, that means the ball is actually colliding. Now for that, let's just get the end angle, because we have the starting angle but we don't have what is the angle for the end, because we only have the length of the path. But we can get the angle of the end by adding the start angle with the length of the path. So we get the end angle as loop start angle plus loop length. If we do that, we will get the outer boundary or the outer range of the loop, that is starting point and the ending point. Now this is just to check whether if ball angle is below the end angle and ball angle is greater than the loop start angle, that means it is between the starting and the ending angle or the segment. That is the starting point and the ending point of the loop. So if it is, then is under collision will be true, and if it is not, that means it is false, it is not colliding. Now to check this whether it is working or not, we can do is we can just move it here and we are done. Now if we refresh it, actually just what we can do is check whether it is colliding is here. Like if I print it like under collision, now you will see the print will be here. We will see collision only when the ball is inside this value, inside the segment. Just look at here and look here, you will see the collision will be only when the ball is inside the segment. So we are done with it. Now we have also detected the collision. We have a method to randomize the position of the segment. We have a method to drive the ball in a circular motion, and we have a game loop that is just refreshing our page every frame. That's it. That is what we are doing. So I guess this is it for this video. In the next video we are going to enter some of the values like touch inputs, keyboard inputs, and also the mouse clicks. And for that we will also update the scores when user taps on the screen when the ball is under collision, and if it taps outside we are just going to game over. So let's see you in the next video. Bye bye.